Footballers make a lot of money. The average salary for a Premier League footballer today sits at more than £65,000 a week, the most it's ever been. That is just the average though. Amazing players like Kobe make less than that, whilst players like Cole or Jude make more. But as crazy as that sounds, even those guys would be considered mid-tier when it comes to salary, because these guys take things to a whole other level. Player salary isn't the only way in which they get paid. Bonuses and image rights often make up a sizable portion of a player's total earnings. So today, I'm going to break it all down. I'm Jordan. I'm on a mission to make passionate sports fans like you just 1% more informed. So today, along with research from Nafeez from Bangladesh, we're going to break down players' earnings, how they get paid, the ridiculous clauses that are included in some players' contracts, and what the hell image rights actually are. But to kick off, let's start with the first one. I've always wondered, when you make so much money, does it get paid to you in the same way, with a payslip into your bank account? Well, the answer is, sometimes, yeah. Check this out. This is a leaked payslip from Carlos Tevez when he used to play for Manchester City. Tevez is one of those players that I can't even hate on, even though he switched up on my beloved club. And to be honest, when I see the payslip, I understand why too. In the UK, you have to pay income tax on any earnings when you're an employee of a company. The higher rate tax band is at 45%. This, of course, is where all Premier League footballers fall into. You can see here that in this month, Tevez was paid £720,827. Not bad. That loosely equates to a salary of around £180,000 per week. His deductions are in line with what you would pay as an employee on this income tax band. And this number shows how much money he paid in tax at that stage of the tax year. Yeah, for all the shit that footballers get about how much money they make, it's worth remembering that they are very big taxpayers in a given economy. That's one thing that's not to be forgotten. What's interesting about this payslip are these lines. For bonuses, some players get all kind of things thrown into their contracts when they sign for a club. Tevez says accommodation here, so I suspect Man City were giving him some kind of allowance for living, which makes sense because, you know, when he left Man United, he had to travel really far. But who knows, maybe it's for family. Other bonuses are pretty standard though, goal bonuses being one. The Mirror reported that Mo Salah has a bonus for whenever he reaches more than 35 goals or assists in a given season. According to them, and again according to them, he gets an extra £2.5 million when he achieves this. According to the Daily Mail, his teammate Virgil van Dijk gets a clean sheet bonus. If Liverpool achieve 22 clean sheet bonuses in a given season, Virgil gets 750k. Again, speculation from the Daily Mail. Similarly, there are team performance incentives too. Ben Foster is really good on YouTube. He said on his podcast once that if Wrexham, who he played for at the time, got promoted, he was promised 100 grand in performance-related bonuses for the team. If you've been a fan of my channel for some time, you will know I did a video on Wrexham, and you'll know they pay quite a lot in bonuses. So this has some legs to it. Loyalty bonuses are also a thing too. These are particularly interesting, and there was a particularly high-profile case with Kylian Mbappe. The loyalty bonus states if a player sees out the entirety of their contract, there's a payment at the end for doing so. When he left Paris Saint-Germain and went to Real Madrid, there was a loyalty bonus of 80 million euros to be paid to Kylian Mbappe that they fought over in court. Mbappe won that case and got paid that amount of money, despite PSG trying everything they can to not do that. Not bad. So, assuming there was nothing else, all of these would be additional line items on these payslips. Where things get interesting though, is when money from a club is paid into a business on behalf of a player. That's usually done for image rights. I've been a football fan my entire life, and I've always wanted to know, what the hell are image rights? I write a newsletter. All of my newsletter subscribers get insights like this sent to their email inbox every Monday at 11 AM UK time. Join the thousands of you already in there by clicking on the link in my description. Now, image rights. Image rights are exactly that. They are the rights to a player's name, likeness, voice, and signature. Initially, a player owns 100% of the rights to their own image. However, the player's club can start to negotiate that percentage when they're in negotiations over a contract. To speak further on this, the most notorious example of negotiations on image rights are at Real Madrid. Florentino Perez has historically always said if you play for Real Madrid, you're going to give up half of your image rights unless they are clearly separate from the club. Yes, half. His theory is a simple one. By playing for Real Madrid, your profile will increase so much that it's worthwhile you paying to be here. Similarly, when Real Madrid own half of your image rights, you are equally incentivized to boost your own image, as both parties would benefit. This then is the thesis that aligns very well with the Galactico philosophy at Real Madrid. So to be clear, If Jude Bellingham was to say sign an agreement with Beats by Dre that paid him £2 million, half of that would go to Real Madrid. If he had an agreement that was 50-50. And quite frankly, every player is happy to do it. However, in 2009, a certain someone came along. For the first time in forever, that 50-50 split changed to 60-40. And since then, Ronaldo's image rights have been on an interesting journey. In 2015, Ronaldo sold a portion of his image rights to Mint Media, a company run by Singaporean businessman Peter Lim. Lim is largely responsible for Ronaldo's explosion into superstar status because he had a strong approach to boost his appeal in Asia. Some of this started to bear fruit pretty quickly. There's a massive e-commerce company in Singapore called Shopee. There's a very famous and funny advert of you-know-who fronting the brand. This is exposure he wouldn't have got before. Interestingly, Real Madrid have a unique position on image rights in the top 5 leagues. Premier League clubs tend to not dabble in players' image rights, allowing them to just own them 100%. Erling Haaland, for example, has full control over his empire. And when this happens, most image rights are usually paid into a player's business. This then is taxed at a different rate. Corporation tax in the UK is at 19%, which is a significant difference to the 45% that salaries are taxed at as income. And that's a pretty big difference. So you can see then why tax plays a massive part in a player's earnings. Serie A have a very interesting approach when it comes to tax. Well, it actually isn't a Serie A thing. It's a government-led Italian state thing where they incentivize skilled workers to come to Italy and work in the country. Set up in 2019, Decreto Crescita, or the translation is Growth Decree, is a law passed by the Italian government that incentivizes people to come and work in the country. In footballing terms, for a player to benefit, they must be a tax resident of Italy, have not lived in Italy for 2 of the 3 previous seasons, and must remain in Italy for at least 2 years. By doing this, foreign players can get a much better income tax rate than players who are from Italy playing in Italy already. It's a sliding scale, but it can be as low as 25%, which is a lot less than the 45% that you pay in the UK and less than the 43% that is typically paid by Italian players. That's quite a big difference. Do you remember when Aaron Ramsey left Arsenal and went to go and play for Juventus on a free contract? Well, think about the wages he was earning at the time. And at the time, they were reported to be quite high. He would have benefited from a lower income tax rate. So massive increase in gross earnings, massive decrease in income tax paid. That's a pretty lucrative couple of years for Aaron Ramsey over on the continent. That was quite lucrative for CR7 when he moved there too. That was probably one of the reasons that attracted him to go and play for Juve for those 3 seasons. The most lucrative tax setup for a player, though, is in the Middle East. Most Emirati regions are exempt from tax altogether, which means the 45% that Carlos Tevez played whilst playing in Manchester, that's gone. He would keep that. There is some nuance here, so stay with me as I take you through a timeline. Law states that from the UK, to take advantage of tax exemptions overseas, you must stay out of the country for a full tax year before you can benefit. In the UK, the tax year runs from April to April, but the transfer windows are at the summer and in January. So, if a player left in July of 2025 and they went to a Middle Eastern club, for them to benefit from the lower income tax rate, they have to stay out of the country for a full tax year. If they leave in July, the tax year has already started. So they have to wait for that tax year to finish and then do a full tax year after. Meaning, with the transfer windows, that player cannot return to the UK until July of 2027 unless they want a healthy tax bill on their shoulders. Jordan Henderson is a prime example of this. He left Liverpool after an amazing career on Merseyside in the summer of 2023. He signed for Al Ettifaq on what was reported healthy wages over in Saudi Arabia. Now, things didn't go so well for Jordan when he was over in the Middle East, and he left 6 months after in January of 2024. However, even for a short 6-month stint in Saudi Arabia, for Jordan to benefit from the lower income tax rate, he would have to stay out of the UK until April 2025 before he made a return. So it didn't surprise me to see Jordan sign for Ajax in 2024, and that's where he currently plays at the time of recording this video. Ajax are a good club, don't get me wrong, but reports suggest he's doing the most to get the bag. And quite frankly, if that was to be true, I don't blame him one bit. If you've made it this far in this video, then thank you. I get loads of emails and messages asking how you can support me on my journey. I'm on a mission to bring the business of sport to 1 million people. So if you want to follow me on this journey, please do one of 3 things. Firstly, follow me on Twitter for more insights. Secondly, please like this video. I didn't know how much likes matter as a content creator until I started making these videos. So please hit the like button. And if you aren't, please subscribe. It's weird. So many people who watch these videos aren't actually subscribed. So if you are one of those people, please hit the subscribe button and I can bring way more to you. Now, I've got 2 things for you before we end this video. The first is about golden boy David Beckham. Beckham got paid in a crazy way when he signed for LA Galaxy. He was offered the right to buy an MLS expansion team for $25 million. Now, you might think that doesn't sound like him getting paid. In fact, it sounds like he has to pay a lot of money to buy a team. But as you know, Bex exercised the right to start an MLS franchise, and that later formed Inter Miami. After just a few years, Inter Miami is one of the most valuable MLS franchises going, and David Beckham is a big beneficiary of this. It's unclear how much of Inter Miami David Beckham actually owns today, but Forbes value Inter Miami at over $1 billion. Let's just say, for the sake of speculation, Beckham owns 15% of Inter Miami. It's a pretty decent way to get paid as a footballer, and that valuation is only going one way from where we are today. Now, the final thing is just a fun thing. Reports suggest that there are some absolutely crazy asks for players when they sign for clubs, included in their contracts. When I was researching this video, some of the things I saw online just made me laugh. Neymar's Barcelona contract reportedly included a clause that allowed 8 of his friends to fly into Barcelona so they could party and come and see him play. Ronaldinho's contract with Flamengo in the early 2010s apparently included contractual allowances to go out and party twice a week, regardless of the team's schedule. A little bit closer to home, Troy Deeney did a legendary interview with Filthy Fellas, where he outlined the demands that Watford agreed to in his contract extension negotiations. They agreed to remove the speed bumps in the car park so that he could drive his sports car to work every single day. They also gave him a box at the stadium so his friends and family can come and watch him. He also asked for particular car parking spaces in the car park too. Oh, what? You don't believe me? Let him tell the story right here.
I'm saying take the speed bump out. You know what? I've got one box. It's only 10-seater, but I feel like other people are good. So can I get 2 boxes, knock the wall out? And also at this point, they're going, yeah, you can have that, you can have that. Do you know what, actually? My boys don't like walking from the bottom of the thing to... Can I get 2 directors' car parks? Have it.
What? If Troy Deeney can get that at Watford, just imagine what some of the elite players are asking for. I mentioned a lot of speculative things in this video about wages and clauses. Some of these things are out there on the internet, so there is some truth to them, but we have to take things with a pinch of salt. Regardless, this video was fun and I hope you really understood how footballers get paid in so many different forms today. I mentioned Beckham a lot in this video. If you want to see how his Inter Miami story came together, please click here and watch this. It's one of the best videos I've ever done. But also, if you want to see on the other side of the transaction, how football transfers get done and how players get bought, click right here. I'm Jordan. Thank you for watching.